My name is Jarrett Stevens, and it really truly, like I don't say this lightly, it's a privilege to be back here. I was here last summer at the Crossing, and the fact that I'm actually here this summer, I think just shows a serious lack of judgment in the leadership of this church, and you might want to just consider that as you think about coming back. But I am actually very, very honored to be back. We have friends on staff here and that volunteer here, actually volunteering right now, and so it's just fun to be back. And this is also a great place because this is a great church, and you probably know that intuitively. That's why you're here. That's why you showed up for the first time, or maybe you have come for so many years now. But my wife and I are actually in the process of starting a church in Chicago, downtown Chicago, this next year. And so for us, we just pay attention to everything, and this has actually been a really inspirational church to us and kind of watching and learning. And so this has been great for me to be here this weekend because I've been back in the offices just taking files and just swiping things off of hard drives. It's really been a great weekend for me. I probably won't be asked back after this weekend, but it is fun. For our time together today, it's going to be really simple. Like I'm going to talk a lot, but my hope is that you actually only remember 4 words that I say. Like if we finish today and you go home and you only remember 4 words, then I've done what I set out to do today. And I think actually you'll have a gift that can really honestly sort of reframe how you look at the Bible, how you understand the story of God, and how you understand even your own story, even your own life. It's honestly just with 4 words. We're just going to focus on 4 words. And the reason why we're just focusing on 4 words is because we live honestly in a world that is overwhelmed and inundated with words. We live in a culture where there is no shortage of access to information, right? I mean, if you want to know something, you can just go and figure it out. Like when I was growing up, if you needed to understand something and you wanted to understand like the meaning of something, you'd go to that shelf on your bookcase. That's where they had those big blue or sometimes burgundy books that explained the world as we knew it. And this is not the dictionary, it's the dictionary on steroids. If you know what I'm talking about. Does anyone know what I'm talking about, what books I'm talking about? Encyclopedias, all right, good. So if you're over 30, if you answered that question, that's good. That's good. There are these things called books. So you'd go to the encyclopedia, and it would have information that you were looking for. And it was volumes, right? It was a lot of books. And in my house, at least, they were at least 60 years outdated. We hadn't even landed on the moon, according to our encyclopedias yet. It was unexplored territory. And so, that's kind of what you did. And that was it. As big as those were, that was kind of all you had and all you needed. Now, if you want to understand something, there's no limit to the words, to the understanding, the meaning that you can get from it. So if you want to understand something, you go to Wikipedia, and you can find a mostly true understanding of that. A partially true understanding of that. Or you can Google it, right? You can just Google it and say, I want to understand a little bit more about this, and you can just put it in, and instantly, you're going to get words, you're going to get sites, you're going to get all kinds of different explanations and different words coming in trying to explain the one thing that you're looking for. So recently, I Googled God. I figured that would be a good topic. And so obviously, instantly, there's Wikipedia, of course, at the top. But just so you know, in a split second, because you know how fast Google works, I want to show you how many results came back for the word God. 500 million sites came back in about 1/10 of a second. 500 million sites that reference God. So we have no shortage of words in our world, correct? I mean, it's overwhelming. In fact, that's what's happening now, is our culture is responding because there's too many words now. And we don't know how to connect the dots and what it all means. We have all these words, but we don't understand what they mean. So what's happening now is there's a shift in our culture to where we are actually trying to say more with less. We're actually trying to get more meaning into less words. So let me show you another picture and see how many of you recognize this. How many of you are text messengers, regular text messengers? Yeah, again, now, awesome. Yeah, if you're 12, you're probably doing it right now. So that's great. I'm okay with that. I just hope we can be BFFs too. And this is what's more scary. So those of you who text message, just be honest, because you're in church, it's a safe place. Yes. How many of you do it while you drive? Yes. Keep your hands up. Everyone else, as you're leaving today, good 3 car lengths back. Let them go. I'm bad. I'm so bad at it. I'm so bad at text messaging because what's so annoying is I could get more done if I didn't have to keep looking up at the road while I'm texting. But there's all these other annoying cars that I have to look up because I'm trying to So what is texting? It's trying to get as much meaning as possible into as few words as possible, right? You're just trying to get the most amount of meaning in the smallest amount of words. I'm going to put another picture up. How many of you are on Facebook right now? Okay, good. Yeah, awesome. That's great. My mom is on Facebook. It took me 3 months to accept her as a friend. Because I didn't know, honestly, she kept asking and I kept denying. I'm like, I don't know what this means for our relationship. To have my mom as my friend on Facebook. There's some things I don't want you to know, Mom. And so, right, so Facebook's the same thing. What Facebook has done is taken profile status. You just kind of put in, here's what I'm doing, here's what's happening. You pack a lot of meaning into just a few phrases. What Facebook has done is it's now made it totally possible for you to be a part-time stalker from your own home. From your own phone. You get to stalk and watch what other people are doing and get as much meaning in that little profile as possible. Now we'll go one more level and see how many of you know what this is. Twitter. How many of you are on Twitter? All right, so it starts to thin out a little bit. Now the Uber nerds are the only ones left raising their hands. My people, I'm with you. Kind of addicted to Twitter. I love it, right? Because what they've done is you only have 140 characters to say what you're doing or what you're thinking or what you're up to. So in 140 letters or 140 spaces, that's all you get. So what's happening even in Twitter is like people find out they want to express something, they want to kind of say what's going on or what they're thinking. In fact, what's amazing is I found out about Michael Jackson's tragic death. I found out on Twitter before it was on the news. I mean, it's amazing that I'm seeing all this pop up and going, wait, it's happening so fast, and people are packing a lot of meaning into this small little space. And we'll drop letters, we'll drop words, we'll drop whatever we have to do to get the point across in as few words as possible. Now, what does that have to do with where we're going, and specifically with the story found in these pages? Well, the truth is, there's a lot of words in this book, isn't there? And if you're honest, at times, this can be a little overwhelming, can it? A little intimidating, right? Because the thought is, I just don't know enough. I just don't know enough of the Bible. Or at least what you're really saying is, I don't know as much as someone else. I don't know as much as them. And the truth is, you're right, you don't. You'll never, this is so deep. There's so much going on here, you'll never fully understand it. And anyone who tells you that they have figured it out is just trying to sell you their version of the Bible. You will never fully understand this. So it can be very intimidating. In fact, of all the words and the deep meaning found in these pages, there have been libraries full of books written about this book. So there's so many words and ideas about this story that it can be overwhelming and incredibly intimidating. And in fact, so much so that many times we just kind of brush it off and we boil it down to just memorizing a few verses here or there. And what we want to go after today is, how can you understand the scope of this story in as few words as possible to pack as much meaning of God's word, God's story, into just 4 words, so that you can actually understand the big scope of God's story. And not only understand it, I think honestly, what we're going to try and do today is give you language to communicate and have conversation with people that you care about that maybe have never even read the Bible or don't understand maybe what we talk about every week here at church. They don't get it. You actually can have language to dialogue with them, to have a conversation with them in just 4 words. It'll be a very short conversation, but 4 words. 4 words to communicate the story of God. And then hopefully, if everything sort of goes right, you'll actually be able to integrate these 4 words into your life. Like, these words will have sort of a deeper meaning because they not only tell God's story, but my hunch is they're going to tell our story as well. They're going to tell your story as well. So we're going to dive right into it. If you have a Bible, Genesis 1:27 is where we're going to start. Genesis 1:27. We're going to try and get through the entire story of God in just 4 words. Genesis all the way to the end. We may even go through the maps. Anything could happen. So let's just see what happens here. Genesis 1:27 is the story of creation. And let's just park on this verse.